Hi friends, this is your pal Scott Garibay, and today I want to talk about Dungeons and Dragons and American Celebrity. So yesterday I saw a really interesting post. I'm connected to a lot of, on social media. I'm connected to quite a few people who are I either follow or I'm friends with. Um, People who are just like me, very into Dungeons and Dragons, very curious about what's happening in its present, right? I also know a lot of people that are very interested in what's happening in its past. But what was most interesting is we got this situation where uh, there was a post and it had Luke Gygax, and actually I'm connected to Luke Gygax on I'm for either follow I believe I'm following Luke Gygax on Facebook. Um, Actually, I don't remember. Like, I have so many connections. I'm not sure how I saw this, but this post was a post like I've seen many others. Hey, we're together and we're playing D&D, right? But who was in the picture was the shocking part. So it was Luke Gygax. Now he is active in the Dungeons and Dragons community. Um, Very connected to Gary Con, and does play a lot of TTRPGs and travels for it, and is still very much connected to Dungeons and Dragons. Now he is um, Gary Gygax's son, so he's in there, and then who else is in the picture? Very interesting. So Joe Manganiello, he's a usual suspect too. He's been connected to D&D for a long time, and then there's Tom Morello, excuse me. Tom Morello, I wasn't aware of this. He's a very prominent, very skilled musician. He was with Rage Against the Machine. He was in Audio Slave, and he actually toured with Bruce Springsteen. So he's extremely talented, high profile. Actually, I wouldn't say high profile musician, but he is a professional and he's been in the industry for a long time and he's had a lot of success. He knows what he's doing, right? And he's had some success in the music industry. But last, and this is the reason we're talking, Vince Vaughn. What? All right, so Vince Vaughn, he's around, man. He has a Hollywood career that waxes and wanes. He did a movie with he did a Google intern movie with Owen Wilson. He was in he had a whole season of True Detective where he was one of the main detectives. That's a big deal. That is a very good show. They hire extremely talented actors on that. He just was in Nona. I didn't watch that on Netflix, but um, uh, he was in Monkey Business. He's been in a ton of stuff. He is a very high profile, um, I would even say A-list actor, right? And I have not seen him connected to Dungeons and Dragons before. So this is really fascinating. So why is this happening? Well, I do think there's definitely there's some activity on Dungeons and Dragons that is quite new and quite real, and is very significant, right? So right now, the biggest thing that's happening in Hollywood is the death of the death of the superhero. Superhero movies don't matter anymore. They this year, like there for quite a while, we've been saying, hey, I think superhero movies are broke. But this year, the conversation's over. They are definitely broke. We had three major movie releases: Thunderbolts, James Gunn's Superman, uh, Fantastic Four, a lot of a lot of major. Um, there were a lot of major superhero films. Not one of them could put up $1 billion. I think if you even took those three together, they wouldn't even make 2 billion. They barely made 1 billion by them, together, right? And this is really odd because we were scraping the bottom of $3 billion, like not just a few years ago, and even in the middle of the plague years, um, Tom Holland was able to put up 2 billion with with Spider-Man, 1.9 billion on the one of the latest Spider-Man in the middle of the plague years. It was bad. Like that was, and now that we can't put up 1 billion, that's a really big deal. So there is a distinct possibility that Dungeons and Dragons could fill this gap. Dungeons and Dragons already had a major movie, not even 2 years ago, um, made almost $250 million, and Dungeons and Dragons is getting some shows, some streaming shows, and Dungeons and Dragons is really coming into its own and performing and is being recognized way outside the realms of its game, its tabletop role playing game. The $1 billion success of Baldur's Gate 3 was a big deal, and there's a lot going on, and so I would not be surprised if we do start to see people positioning themselves to star in Dungeons and Dragons Hollywood products, because I think we're about to see some, and there is a possibility that Dungeons and Dragons could be the number one fantasy content creator soon, and that could be a very big deal as superhero fatigue really sets in and Hollywood goes, oh, we have to find other winners. And so that makes an opening for Dungeons and Dragons that didn't exist before. Every single word, and it's a big deal that Vince Vaughn is connecting himself to Dungeons and Dragons. Every single word you just heard in this video is my humble opinion. The important part is when I get to hear your humble opinion. When you get in the comments and send your traffic, please consider like subscribing and have a fetch millennium.